Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, I know it's been a wonderful week down in San Diego. How's it been in Marvel Snap, and what has been one of your absolute favorite decks you've been playing this week?
Ooh, good question. I started playing a lot of Move, but I think by far a new variation of kind of the discount disrupt Selene Goblin package. I've been having a lot of fun with that again. Trying to bring back junk a little bit has been by far what I've been playing the most. Nothing like sitting a -6 Goblin Man to the other side. So a lot of junk actually. How about you?
You know what? I've been playing so many different things. I've been trying to play some new Destroyer stuff. I even tried to do this toxic ramp deck where because Viper's now 3/5, trying to kick over the Electro. And I've been playing with this idea of trying to use ramp as this toxic kind of activator. And it's been fun. It's been real fun. But I'm trying to find a new deck with Destroyer. I've been playing with Kang again. With Destroyer and Shuri and Nimrod. I got the whole team back together, baby. So, I mean, every time you get a massive OTA, I think it's just a lot of fun to just get bruning. And that's what I love the most about Marvel Snap. I know a lot of people, that they get driven by ranking up. A lot of people get driven just by getting to Infinite. And other people get driven by Infinity tickets, right? Or Infinity borders. For me, deck crafting is what gets me excited, and sharing that with everybody.
I love that you say this because we're going to go into Miek, and with that, when I did my Miek guide, I've been doing this more often. I have two lists in my video. The fun list, that's a good win rate. You're gonna get it's gonna be a good performer, maybe 52, 53%, but damn it, you're gonna have a good time playing it, i.e. the Gambit craziness. Or the more dependable list, if you're looking for stats and the value play and you want to win the most with this archetype. And I think that kind of covers both bases, right? Some archetypes do that twice, but I felt like Miek did a great job at really highlighting that a bit, man. And definitely was an interesting card with a lot of takes. People definitely had their opinions on it.
Yeah, off the top, I'll be honest with you. I like Miek.
Yeah.
People were down on Miek, hating Miek. They're Miek sucks. Miek doesn't suck. He's a one-cost card. What do you want him to do? What do you want him to be? Grandmaster, ruining the meta? Come on now. Miek's going to be just damn fine at one cost, if not overstated at times. So right off the rip, now I'm talking like you now. Right off the rip, Cozy. Let's get some star rankings from you, buddy.
Yeah, dude, same here. I released my Miek thing within 4 or 5 hours, and I'm proud, man. I see my list on the stats. It's doing really well still, and nothing feels good, right? I know you felt that. Yeah. You're yeah, it feels good to see one of your lists up there. But I was seeing a lot of stuff. He sucks, and I'm like, oh no. What if I just had a lot of good games, right? Because you can only test so many times. I'm like, okay, 4 hours. I thought he was good, but maybe I'm wrong. I felt like he was good. The tough part is because his flexibility is a 1-star and it's going to be a 1-star, it's always tough with cards like these to say hey, this guy's a 3, 4, 5-star. I think the reason I give him a 3.5 in discard, you could say 4. The reason I give him 3.5 is because he is replaceable ultimately. And anytime something's replaceable, I can't give him a 4 or 5-star. But you get this guy where it's not hard to dictate where he goes, and it's not hard to get him up to silly power. That's my opinion. How about you?
So first of all, he's 0-star outside of anything other than this card. Compared to what we were talking about with Grandmaster, which can be splashed in everywhere, Grandmaster kind of reminds me of Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel could have been put everywhere. Mm-hmm. Miek obviously can't be put everywhere. However, in discard, I'm willing to say he's a 3 or 4-star card.
Yep.
I'd be willing to go 4-star. Okay. And the reason for that is, I'll tell you what the problem was. I don't think Miek was the problem. I think reliable discard was the problem. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is, Miek did not change or did not kind of replace Chavez. The win rate and the play pattern lost when Chavez was changed did not get replaced by Miek. That simple. You have Black Knight, which is overperforming as a discard archetype. You have discard as an archetype, then you have Black Knight, and then you have reliable discard. You take Chavez out of reliable discard, you plug in Miek. It's not the same deck. Miek was never going to be able to do what Chavez did, okay? And Miek doesn't really go in the Black Knight decks because they're very targeted discards. It's a very different thing. So Miek got stuck in this middle ground. We're okay, in the discard archetype, I even get niched in. So it's talk about a niche card. You end up with the reliable discard side, which is just not as good. It's just not a Chavez replacement. And so if that version of discard is not competitive, then Miek won't be competitive. The card is good. The card itself is good. It's just that where it's being played and the shell is not what it used to be.
I mean, it's still a good win rate. I mean, it's at 54% even at the highest level of plays. And so to me, that's not bad. I 100% agree. In my video of Meek, I said this. I said when they removed Chavez from the game, it hurt discard. It took away like 3 pieces to discard, right? Because first, you had more dependable of getting MODOK and the cards you need. Second, you could then have a certified card to play on turn 6. And then third, Dracula could have a certified card to absorb, right? So like that was doing so much. And you're right, Meek doesn't replace that. But what you do replace is how do you get back to that power? And Meek is adding at least 1.5 to the 3 that you took away, right? We have cards coming in February. We could talk about that all day. But right now in the present, you have now this collector / Morbius / trying to get a lot of swarms and your APOC high to build up these 2-cost cards. And then you have just the good raw value stats of discard / the Gambit package, right? So like to me, you're just having a different way to play it, and it's bad. It's good. It made me love it again. It made me actually like discard again. I can say that confidently.
Yeah, absolutely. And like as you said, the discard, the win rate is pretty high. Like we have a list, I'll show it on the screen here. Currently running a 56% win rate. Meek, Blade, Morbius, Wolverine, Swarm, Colleen, Wing. You got Gambit, Lady Sif, Dracula, Hellcow, MODOK, and Apocalypse. I mean, this is a very strong shell, and it's performing really well. The question becomes is, would you rather play this or Black Knight in a competitive scenario? I tend to think that the Black Knight version has higher highs and therefore can be a little more, in a competitive scenario, I would expect Black Knight to be better. However, what you and I did, which was really, it's so fascinating that you and I kind of came to a very similar conclusion. And I think that people have really picked up on this. Was I called it Machine Gun Meek, right? The idea of using Wong, MODOK, and I got a little greedier than you. I think I used Onslaught where you had cut the Onslaught from the deck, but I was like, I'm all in, damn it. So the idea here was like, basically, as you said, you have Collector, you have Morbius, and you have Meek. You have 3 cards that when you're just pounding MODOK over and over and over again with those swarms, it's generating a ton of value, like an incredible amount of value. And you could even do you can actually even get Blade in there, and on turn 6 under Wong you can actually play MODOK and Blade together, and they'll keep proccing like this, right? So it's pretty cool what you can do, and these cards get huge. I had to make it like 28. Dude, 28. It was a 128. It was ridiculous.
Having Morbius go up to it made me like love Morbius again, because you're trying to do the same thing again. Like you're trying to just get like discard as much as you plausibly can, and like that's why like Wong, like people see a deck with Wong and they're like, oh brother, and I'm like, no, like this is actually working here, because you could just, even if you just barely get out enough to get him going, like, bro, I was playing MODOK Meek the last turn of the game and it was enough to get the job done, right? So 100% agree. I mean, I think a lot of the reasons why me and you have a lot of similar blends is because we're talking about the cards early, and then we get to play the test of cards, and we're all hyped up. Now Grandmaster, another story, because there's like 90 things to test out there, I feel like. But yeah, I feel like the thing about comparing it to Black Knight is it reminds me of like, I had a commentator on one of my move videos be like, yeah, Phoenix Force is better. And I'm like, no, it's just different. Like, I feel like Black Knight to discard is Phoenix Force to move. It's not exactly that archetype. It's really not. It's its own thing. And it's, you know what I mean? Like if you're playing discard, this felt like playing discard again. Whereas when I'm playing Black Knight, I don't feel like I'm playing discard really. I'm playing a Black Knight deck. Same with Phoenix Force. Does that make sense?
Okay, tell me if, I'm going to try and do an analogy here. Tell me if this makes sense. So straight up discard, right? Like traditional discard, that's like Pepsi, right? And then like, or Coke. And then when you go into like Black Knight, that's kind of like Coke Zero, where it's like, it's kind of the same thing, but it's not actually the same thing.
Coke to Pepsi. Yeah. I think Pepsi's always been the little brother to Coke, man. I mean, are you a Pepsi guy?
I don't
you
really.
You said Pepsi first, so I'm taken back.
I'm just trying to speak in the vernacular of the people. I don't really know. I don't drink a lot of pop. I think I've mentioned on the podcast before that like my drink of choice, if I'm gonna get a little lubricated, is gonna be a rye and Coke, like a rye and Pepsi, kind of like a whiskey and a Coke mix.
Yeah, Coke over Pepsi. There's a movie called
Coke over Pepsi. You said it.
Coke
That's how you say it.
Yeah, Coke over Pepsi. I mean, because I forgot what the movie is, but this guy can't tell a lie. People will know what I'm talking about. This guy can't tell a lie. The whole world
Liar?
No. A good movie, but no.
I know which one you're talking about. And he goes to the bank and they tell him he has $1 million and he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. So nobody can lie in this world, but he figures out how to lie. It's like the invention of lying, may be the name of it, I think.
I think that's the name. Yeah, I know exactly what movie you're talking about.
So the commercials on this were hilarious. Not the commercials for the movie, but in the movie setting, because commercials can't lie. They can't tell. It's like you can't overhype anything. And so it was funny because Pepsi's commercial on this world was Pepsi for when you don't have a Coke. It's essentially the truth. Like, that's how I view it. I thought they summed it up there. Pepsi's always like, I don't know if you're sitting down, but in America, man, I'm like, I'll have a Coke. And they're like, oh, we have Pepsi. I'm like, I'll just have a water. It's fine.
I wonder what YouTube would look like in that world.
Yeah.
Like the titles. Like I can only imagine what YouTube titles would look like.
Hercules fucking sucks. Like just on the title. Yeah, no, 100%, man. But anyway, I'm so glad you knew that movie. Very niche of a movie. Like I don't think it's that popular, but it's actually pretty funny and sad. It was like a good drama almost. So go check it out. Anyway, we're off topic a bit, but yes, I do agree. You have Apocalypse, discard feeling like the main thing. Black Knight for something else. All I know, man, was I was excited to play traditional discard once again.
Yeah, like it's one of my favorite archetypes. It was nice to get back into it. I do want to talk about two things, though, specifically with Miek that really bothered me. The first is it not working with Black Cat. That has to be a bug, right? Like that seems so ridiculous. Like I was like, really? It's not working with Black Cat? Like it wasn't really going to fit that well in Black Cat, but I was like trying to experiment, like, this is so stupid. Like it just seems like it's like what the after turn effect reveal order
it's
matters
so stupid. It's so dumb. Like I had less of a problem with the turn 6 thing. I could care less. I was like, whatever. Like I figured out how to build around that. I built my graphics ahead of time, and I had Black Cat as a good support card because, like, no crap. Talk about they want to make things more simple to understand. Why would Black Cat not? If you discarded any cards, game +1, she's discarding herself. It made no sense.
I know why. It's the same reason why people get confused when there's 2 Miss Marvels on the board. Yeah. They reveal their end of turn state based on play order. So if Miek goes down first, he reveals his end of turn check, and then Black Cat reveals her end of state, and that's why, right? It's the order of operation. But like, I don't know, I ain't a programmer, just, hey, Miek check last maybe. And it fixes Dracula too, because I don't care, man. It should move when Dracula discards at the end of the game. Like, it's not really, it doesn't make sense to me that Dracula and Apocalypse, which is core to that specific version of discard that we're talking about, the version of discard that Miek is fully applicable in, the only version of discard that Miek can be played in, one of the key synergistic plays of Apocalypse Dracula does not work with Miek. That is mind-boggling to me. It's like buying a Ferrari and then putting on square tires and being like, you'll be fine, man. Just drive faster. It'll be fine. It's like, no, but Miek should have been working with Dracula. It should have been working with the Black Cat. It makes no sense to me.
He just feels different than the other cards, and I don't like that. Like, for instance, it would have died either way, but I'll put it in a scenario that makes sense. I got a Miek up to like 30 power, and I was so excited to see it. I'm like, oh my god, here we go. It was a Kamartaj Wong on the Swarms, and I'm like, here we go. I can't wait. And my opponent Killmongered, so killed the Miek, right? But in an example where you have armor and Wakanda, and you're trying to send that Miek over, you don't get, you have to wait for things to process, and it just dies. And it's just, it feels so clunky. It feels so clunky that doesn't happen at the end of me doing what I just did, right? Like, I just did my turn. At the end of my turn, it should go over. But it doesn't. I have to wait for him to go too. It's just, it's awkward.
It was so funny you mentioned that because it kind of brought me back. I had a very similar game too, and when my Miek died, I wasn't upset about the cubes loss. I was like, my content, no.
Oh yeah, dude, I literally kept the battle because I was like, it would have been cool, guys. Like my Morbius was like
I've
60.
been there.
Yeah, totally.
An extension of this conversation is, I don't know what your opinion on this is, but like, should it work with Invisible Woman? Because like Invisible Woman is like literally a core component of a lot of discard based strategies. Like Miek seems to like be a discard card that was not designed for discard. Yeah, no. You know what I mean? Like it's not working. It's not working in the archetype. Like the way people play discard, Miek is like, no, I don't do that. I don't do Invisible Woman. I don't do Dracula. Screw you, Dracula. I don't care about your discards. Like what?
I played a guy that lost Dark Dimension because he did all these discards on Dark Dimension, and Miek was just like, like nothing, just did nothing. And I was like, because I even commentated, I'm like, oh, I lost. Wait, Miek didn't do anything. Oh, it was after the, and I'm like, I have to like rewire how it works. So yeah, definitely, that's the part missing of Miek, but everything else really liked about the card. and he felt good to play on just about any turn, which, we got to love.
Yeah, ultimately, I do think it's a very good card. I like it for discard, and as we discussed prior, very strong discard piece. Notable 3,000 tokens, by the way. It is notable that when we try to do this comparison, it's half the cost. It's half the cost, which makes sense, and I actually agree with that, because now instead of paying for power, the idea of a Series 5 card that's really strong should be whatever. The idea of hey, this is a card that is very niche, very specific to discard. You're not going to be playing it everywhere. Yeah, make it 3,000. Grandmaster, which can go everywhere. Yeah, make it 6,000 or whatever it is. That makes much more sense to me than when we have really random ones that just don't make sense. And it's oh, well, clearly Elias can be a Series 5 because that's the broken one, and that's why it was done that way. But anyways, I digress. Meek, overall, pretty good. Skippable though, right? Would you agree skippable if you're not a discard fan?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no question. You won't be missing if you don't play discard. Meta MVPs at every cost, Alex. Let's talk about it. What are we going to be doing? What are we going to be ranking, and how does this work?
All right, so this was an interesting new idea that we had, and the idea here was let's talk about some cards that are just really good cards for Marvel Snap. They have good win rates, they win games, they're fun to play, and people just don't complain about them because they don't piss you off. The cards that in Marvel Snap that are really well designed, the ones that just feel good to play and just, they do their thing and they do it damn well. And for me, there's so many cards that fit this mold. It was hard. It was hard to pick just one at every cost. So I cheated and I have two. Just in case you pick mine too, maybe I'll just roll a couple extras in there, upset Cozy, but hey, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? You gonna get mad again because I'm putting, hey, for 6, I have 9 cards, Cozy. What are you going to do, buddy?
For 6, funny enough, 1 cost was one of the tougher ones. Where pick a good meta. Some costs I didn't struggle with that much, and then some I was you know what, this one makes more sense. So cards that are meta that people don't complain about. We even had a funny conversation about this the other day, where we were why does no one complain about whatever? And then some cards are just the worst thing in existence. 1 cost cards, man. I'll let you start. What do you got?
Okay. For me, one of the absolute best performing cards in Marvel Snap that no one complains about is Nebula. Really, if you actually think about how good this card is, no one's complaining about Nebula. This card is ridiculous. It is one of the best cards in Snap. It is. And no one's complaining because it's so fair. You know why it's fair, Cozy? Because it's your own damn fault that their Nebula's huge, right? That's kind of the way it works.
It's true.
Nebula is so good.
You're not playing the Nebula or you're not playing on the Nebula, and you have to make the conscious choice. This guy the other day played Nebula on Luchgia or whatever, and I'm I don't want to play there. What do I do? And he took the 3 rocks early. So yeah, totally agree with that one. Mine's Nico, man. I think if it wasn't Nebula, it's got to be Nico. It's one or the other, right? I think Nico feels kind of crazy, but I think the RNG that she has is just enough to be fine, right? So getting to destroy, let's say, it's so busted sometimes, but other times it just doesn't work out on curve, right? So I think she's really well done. Again, we always say want more cards like Nico. There are more with that. I agree we could pick more, but I think these 2 are good for 1 cost.
Yeah, and let's just, Cozy, please pay some respect to the fact that when we were coming up with this idea, the literal inspiration was hey, kind of like Nico, Cozy, kind of like Nico. That's exactly what we said, and I left it for you because I didn't want to steal it. Another one dropped, just special mention. I just have to. I want to just say Misty Knight. I have to. Misty Knight's so good. It is so good. It makes Evo elevated, and if you take Misty Knight out, the win rate goes down. It straight up goes down. It's one of those low-key winners of High Evolutionary that no one really respects.
Mine was Deadpool. I just thought Deadpool was such a great card that's so fun. It just works. And I think they do it well. But yeah. All right, 2 cost, man. This one I think probably a little bit tougher. More so because it's is it too good? You know what I mean? Trying to find that balance of is it too good? What is your 2 cost?
My 2 costs, I went with Jeff.
Do you think Jeff is perfect as is?
Yeah, I don't think Jeff's a problem. I think he was an answer to Lockdown. The only problem with Jeff was that, other Lockdown decks played Jeff as well. He's fair statted. 2-2 would feel awful. 2-3 is just right. You don't lose a game because, they played Jeff, damn it. Well, that does happen when you're playing Pro X. And okay, there, I take that back. But, Jeff doesn't break you, right? It doesn't break you. It's just perfect to me. It's a perfectly statted card, perfectly designed card. I love it.
And we have, in a couple months, War Machine coming out that makes all of your next turn cards Jeff, essentially. They can all be... And I think that's cool because then it allows Jeff to, do his thing for a cheaper cost, things like that. Probably bring him down a bit. On that note, real quick, dude, I literally complained. It happened on stream, and the art director guy saw it. It was hilarious. Johnny, love him. I have this awesome Jeff variant. I'm look, I want to split this thing. The rain on this is so cool, right? Like, it's so, like, the animation. I split it. Look at this, man. There's no rain. It's gone. I got rigged. I got hacked. I got gypped. Anyway, I thought I would bring it up now. 2 costs, very tough, because I think there are a lot of them that kind of, like, fit the mold. Like, oh, man. Before I say mine, is Shadow King fair to you, or is he too good?
Shadow King's great. I like Shadow King a lot.
You like
He's
him at a
actually
2
one of
cost?
my honorable mentions I didn't want to bring up.
You like him at a 2 cost? Okay, yeah. So Shadow King for me was like right on the line. I'm like, is he okay to have as a 2 cost card? It's tough. Mine together, I have Zabu with Ravona. I feel like them together, they're statted fine. Maybe Ravona 2/2, whatever. But like the way they curve out, you know, I've been playing decks where I get Zabu on, 3, and you're like, I don't know if I want to play this. I had these other things in mind. Like, I feel like the way they curve out, kind of like Daredevil, it's just done right. So Zabu, Ravona as a package deal, I like them together. 3 cost.
Yeah, and the thing about Zabu as well is often if you play him like on turn 3, it's like, okay, do I have a turn 6 play that matters, right?
Yeah.
Does my turn 6 like right? So that kind of, do I have Shangers and something else like a Darkhawk that I want to play? So yeah, I love that call out. Number 3, 3 cost. Okay, I have a favorite card in 3 cost that I actually don't get to play very often, but it's one of my absolute favorite in the game, and I think it's so well designed. It's Agent Coulson. Isn't it one of the absolute best cards in Marvel Snap? Not from like a win rate perspective, but just a design perspective, a pixel variant perspective.
Thank you for
thank
you for letting me bring this Coulson.
Yeah,
up. I appreciate it.
Coulson's incredible. I love this card so much.
Yeah, it is. I do. I love Coulson. I'm telling you, if we ever get a draft mode, man, Coulson is gonna just reign supreme. So good at that. What a good pull, man. You had a lot to pick from, and I'm glad that Coulson made your list from that. I had Beast, who I think we talked about. Like, is he too good? Does he do too much? I don't know. I feel like because of Falcon and because of, honestly, how many good 1-cost cards we've had lately, like, now he kind of does his thing. Sometimes he can feel clunky. I think he's a great MVP at the cost stat that he has, and just an all-around super solid card. I'm jealous that you picked Coulson now, but I think there are a couple more we could have easily picked in this tier. Yeah.
Yeah, like another one. Sorry, I know you're like Cozy. Come on, I gotta talk about Venom for a sec too. Like Venom's another massive one that like I think has to be brought up. Venom was unplayable, guys. 3/1. It's kind of crazy to think about it because like going back, no one played Venom at 3/1. He gets buffed up to 3/3 and he's everywhere. But like when does 2 power on Venom even matter that much? Like I feel like I see Venom and he's like 24 power half the time. So it's like, okay, were we just sleeping on Venom the entire time and we needed the buff to kind of wake up, or like was he actually that much worse?
Kind of back then, dude. Bucky Barnes was being played in Destroy, so like it was a different Destroy world, man. We didn't have really Null all that much, right? We had him for a couple months, but no one really had him. We didn't have Nico. We didn't have Deadpool with the Forge now that we have with the Forge. So it was just a different Destroy. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's like taking a couple power points off Blob. Not what they did. They did a good job, but like it'd be like, who cares? You're not going for the big chunk there. 4 cost. Oh boy. What do you have here as the perfect card for the meta?
Okay, so my card that like I just love so much. I think it's fantastically well designed. It's fun and it has moments of extreme power. It's Moon Girl. Give Moon Girl some love. I mean, this is one of those cards that honestly can set up some of the most broken combos in Snap, but it feels fair. You see it coming. It's expensive at 4, right? Like you get basically 2 turns, well maybe 3 if you play the Magic, but you get a limited amount of time where you can pull off those insane combos, but Moon Girl can make a lot happen. So I think it's a really cool card that doesn't get many complaints, but certainly sets up a lot of fantastic combos.
That's a solid pick, man. I think I like that one for creativity-wise. I think for me it was Shuri, just because this kind of brought up this discussion like months ago where me and you were like, no one complains about Shuri. And I think it speaks to like the great balance that we do have. No, like
no one complains about Shuri. You said, I can't wait to read my comment section on this video. But what did you just do?
Nowadays, dude, do you think people can play nowadays? I don't see a lot about Shuri nowadays. I truly don't. And this is to the from the words of Coccia. I felt like I feel like to balance a card that doubles a card's power, but when you can do so many other things nowadays and Shadow King at a 2 cost, I feel like it's at a good spot.
Yeah, we have way more answers, and the nerf to the way that Shuri is played. Like, I can't believe the original version of Shuri, how crazy it was.
Stupid.
Right? The new version gives you some counterplay, so yes, that is definitely a good point there. And but like, yeah, it had to work really hard to get to the point to possibly being a fair card. Meta MVP Shuri Cozy, you're baiting the community's fervor on my side of the Snapchat, man. I see what you're doing there.
I'm taking your, the conversation. I think it was you who said that Shuri is just like a good static card. I feel like I haven't seen a lot, but you know what? Blob was the like, you know what I mean? Since the dawn of Snap, we have had a villain in Snap, no matter what. And the Twitter Knights come together and they have their new hate. They have to hate something. They hate their lives. So they're like, what do we hate now? We hate Blob today, and it's like, it's true. It's true. Come on. Everyone's always hating something
Based
new.
Cozy's best Cozy.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, Shuri might make that list. 5 cost, man. I know you're going to say Leech.
He's doing just what he's doing.
I was like, you know what?
He's trying to anger everybody on this podcast.
Now we're going to go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I do have 2, but I'll just say 1.
Okay.
For me, I think Blue Marvel is remarkable. I think it's a fantastically well-designed card. I think it does so much to elevate other cards. It's what it does. It makes other cards better. It's just I can't speak enough positive things about Blue Marvel. I think it's a fantastic card. I think it's perfectly balanced, but also extremely relevant.
Funny enough, mine's pool 1 too. I had Iron Man. I think both Iron Man and Blue Marvel, both pool 1. They just do what they do great. They've never needed an adjustment. The 5 cost for Iron Man feels perfect. You're kind of going all in on the 1 lane or whatever it is. Obviously, if you get the combo pieces with Mystique and Ravonna, it can get kind of crazy. But I like that you went with the Blue Marvel. I went Iron Man. Just classic pool 1 cards that they, really have never had to change all that much. And then you said you had 9 6 costs or something like that?
No, I'm kidding. I wanted to shout out Vision as well. Vision, I think, is a very fair 5 drop too. He did get buffed once, right? He was a 5/7, got to 5/8, but overall, I think Vision's a really good 5er as well. And Devil Dinosaur is also my list. Okay, I'm done. I won't do it anymore. All right, number 6. 6 cost, Cozy. Now I'm going to let you lead in the way here. But there's a lot of 6 drops that honestly I think are very fair. And in fact, I think they even talked about potentially improving some of them in the future. In the most recent OTA, they said, hey, we're keeping an eye on those 6 drops. We're going to make them a little more relevant. So, Cozy, who do you got?
I'm going to go into where I have to show you this because I always, we need to do more. I always think we need to do more split openings on the Snapchat. But dude, I got this and I immediately thought of it being a Snapchat split. Isn't this I used my luck. I used my luck for the entire year. This bundle came out. I was like, I love Hella. I'll split her 1 time. And dude, I got this. I got the split of splits. I think I'm a Hella main now.
Yeah, it's a god split. So for those that are listening to the Snapchat, you do have Hella in her green spandex armor with a flowing cape, her crown of thorns. I don't know what this is. Is that her hair? I'm not sure what it is.
It's definitely not her hair.
This is one of my weakest reads in a while. We got the gold foil background with the golden Kirby crackle.
The Alex OnlyFans voiceovers need a little bit more love next time. That was it wasn't your sharpest. For me, man, we talk about him all the time when he got nerfed, in fact, and I kind of forgot about it. We were mad because we thought he was the perfect card for Snap. The definition of it, it's got to be Dr. Doom, man. It's got to be Dr. I feel like Dr. Doom is what is a standard, great, perfect card.
Yeah.
I love them, especially now that they've kind of slowed down Lockdown a little bit. You know what I mean? It's got to be Doom.
I love it. I love the pick. Doom was one of my options here, and I agree. And they even took Doom down. They nerfed it, and they're like, no, we can't do this. It's too iconic to Snap. Everyone's upset. Not because the card was breaking the meta by any means. People just want to play Dr. Doom. It feels like a very fair turn 6 play. It's the perfect turn 6 play. It really is. You're attacking all 3 lanes. It's not too much power. Everything about it was just a perfect, fair 6-drop card. So I'm glad that they reverted the nerf. For me, 6-drop, it's a card that's never been changed once. It has a remarkable turn 6 impact. And it's Magneto. Magneto, if it wasn't Dr. Doom, it had to be Magneto.
Yeah, it has to be.
Magneto is such an incredible card. And really, it wins games solo. And you started to see it a little bit with Miss Marvel, a little bit, like to counter Miss Marvel a little bit, but ultimately, like you pull over Venoms, you pull over Miss Marvels, you pull over pretty much whatever they're relying on to win.
Yeah.
And I do really think that Magneto is one of the best design cards in Snap.
Man, yeah, we nailed it with the two. We got the two. The two that we always talk about as just like staples that have been outside of Doom's, brief disappearance, about the same since the beginning of Marvel Snap, dude. We're gonna do that topic more often. I think that's a fun one to revisit.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we will do it again in the future. But now, in the present, we have to do our Snapchat mailbag. And if you're interested in leaving a question for Cozy and I, type mailbag and leave us a question. We'll pick a couple every single week to go through here. And Cozy, I got one for you. And this is from Matthew Picton. Matthew says, "Hi, I love the podcast. In Conquest mode, I have racked up a very good amount of Infinity tickets thus far and would consider myself to be a pretty good player in the mode. In Ranked, however, I have been stuck in Galactic for a whole season and can't get to Infinite. My question is, why do you think that some people are better at a particular mode? And what are the different skill sets needed for each mode?"
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Well, they are very different. They're very different game modes. Decks are different. Gameplay is different. Knowing what your opponent has is vastly different, right? I would say if you're like a decent player at Proven Grounds and getting a lot of tickets, you should be good at, rank for the most part, because it's kind of the same thing. You kind of have to, I feel like the big difference is, number one, is being able to have whatever deck you're playing is consistent enough to go against a wide variety of decks. Like, if you're playing a combo deck in Conquest, you can just lead till you get the combo and then you go all in on that one. Whereas you go into Ladder, you have that one shot and you've already snapped back because you thought you had it and then they had the answer to it. I feel like a bit of the decks you go against are vastly different. It's why Sarah Control during Infinity Conquest Week is always the best deck, because it has tech cards and it can just answer the wide varieties of decks out there. It's different play, and more importantly, when you lose in Conquest, you have another chance. When you lose in rank, you go down in rank, and consistency is absolute key.
And I also think that to some degree, like what you're saying about Sarah Control, like the matchup can play a larger factor in Conquest. It doesn't mean like it's insurmountable. Like a bad matchup, you can definitely still win, but it does have a factor. The other thing is, I think that the major core difference between the two is going to be the management of resources. Whereas in Conquest mode, your health is a resource. And so you could even use it as like, okay, I'm going to go to turn 6 here because I want to see what cards they're playing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to retreat, but I want to see what they have in their hand. I'm playing through turn 5 because I want to see what their turn 5 is going to look like. Using your health to trade information, using your health to like, okay, I could go 4 cubes here, but my win percentage is pretty low. I would rather retreat and take a higher percentage gamble later on. Managing your health, I think, is a major difference. In individual ladder matches, you're kind of obviously you're identifying each win probability based on the match itself. In Conquest, it's about all those mini battles. Yep. And you can win a war of attrition by basically forcing them to retreat. And winning those small battles ultimately add up for you to ultimately win the Conquest.
What was his name?
Matthew, yeah.
Matthew. Hey, Matthew, you are a good player, by the way. Like, you can be a good ranked player. Absolutely. If you have the skill set to be good in Conquest, you definitely have the exact same tangibles. And you just have to, maybe refine on a couple of those things or play whatever less combo heavy decks or the resource thing. Absolutely, buddy. You're still definitely a good player in Snap, though. What is our next question, Mr. Alex?
Our next question comes from Willer Honey. The question reads, are there any cards that got nerfed into oblivion that you'd like to see come back? As an example, Kitty Pryde, Luke Cage, or Mobius.
That's a good question. There's a couple of them, I feel like. Yeah, do you have one on your
Yeah,
mind?
I lean towards Elsa. I feel like Elsa needs something. Like, that was a season pass card. I liked the way it played. They knocked down both its multiple location impact while also knocking down its power. I think they can give one of those back. And then, of course, it'll break the meta probably. But anyways, that's the one that came to mind immediately, because I actually felt Elsa was really fun, especially with like the Nightcrawlers, the Jeffs, the Visions. It was playing this pseudo move package that worked really well with the card. So I'd like to see Elsa come back to some degree.
It's funny you say that, but so mine's Captain Marvel. I feel like we had this great couple weeks, man. Did we have it was a great couple weeks. I get it because of the time or whatever. I feel like now though we have it's fine. It's tough putting her there because she's like the card that you always want to play because it gives you more. I don't know. I just feel like the game's evolved since then, and I really would like to see her back into swing because she's gone. She's absolutely gone now, and I would love to see her come back. So that would definitely be my answer. Yeah.
Man, I'm so disappointed. I didn't even think of Captain Marvel. Literally one of my favorite. People say, Alex, what's your favorite card in Marvel Snap? And I'm like, it's Captain Marvel. Like, in terms of design, the way it moves, the actual text, I love Captain Marvel. And you're right. I'd love to see her come back because there was like a 2-week time where like it was beautiful, Cozy.
Oh, yeah,
it was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Our next question comes from John. First off, y'all are amazing. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Hey, listen, I'm just trying to keep up with Cozy's haircut. It's too damn good. Too fresh every single week. Is this game truly RNG? I could have been playing a control deck and I rarely see a move deck. The moment I start playing move, I mirror match into a handful of move decks. This seems to be happening more often. It's the question of deck matching. Cozy Snap. Does deck matching exist?
No, I mean, it doesn't. It'll seem like it. I totally get it. It doesn't though. I think it's been now a year plus of this question circulating. I boy, do I totally resonate. And I have been there. I have played. You know, I've finally switched to Mr. Negative and I'm playing a Mobius player. And I'm like, what are the odds, man? I didn't see Mobius all day, right? So, like, without question. But no, it's been proven against that.
A couple weeks ago, I was streaming and we did like a fun like Agatha Quicksilver deck. And literally the first game, me and the person both played Quicksilver. Both of us were shocked and both of us wanted to take it to Reddit.
No,
that's insane. Like, what are the chances? The only two people playing Quicksilver in Marvel Snap match against each other at that exact moment, right? I was like, come on, man. And I have the proof. We had the people watching. We had the proof. We had the proof. But yeah, just so we're clear, actually, I know the development team at one point, this was months ago, did respond to the deck matching question and basically said, why the hell would we do that? It makes no sense. We would never do it. So they did go and say like, no, we don't do it. We really don't. Like, it's purely coincidental. Like, what's the word? Self-bias? Something bias, some sort of bias where you look for it. Confirmation bias? Is that the word?
More or less.
Sounds like the word? Okay. And our next question comes from Jake Martin. Jake reads, do you think 1,000 tokens is fair if you pull a duplicate in Spotlight caches, especially if it's a 6,000 token card? Acquisition is hard enough. Maybe 2,000 tokens and a variant of that card is fairer. Now, the reason why I picked this question is because we used to get a lot worse rewards. And I actually thought that the 1,000 tokens was a significant step up for a reward from the Spotlight caches. Now, I know we always want more, but it becomes a question of what can the economy actually handle?
I'll make it 2, man. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think that's what we wanted originally, or something 1,500, 2K.
Yeah, you championed that literally. Like, you championed this change.
I really thought, I mean, because we're getting an additional card at that, you might as well make it up to 15 now, right? Like, or 2, or like, does that really hurt the overall overhead of what they're making or whatever that might be? I don't think so, right? So yeah, I have no problem saying get it up there. I think one of the reasons I want a new mode so much is just like an additional way. Like, we're getting this with the not only albums, but also like the prestige. It's like new ways to get resources. Like, we need more of that. And I think right now it's kind of a weird time. Like, they had albums come out and all these emotes teased like 9 times in a row of like, trailers and things. And I haven't, like, where the hell are the emotes and where the hell are the albums with them? We need some of this stuff to come out to alleviate the resources so that you can get more tokens there or in a prestige thing, whatever that thing is with the variants, right? Like, I think that's going to help. But if that doesn't come out soon, then sure.
Yeah, because the additional card every single week is an additional stress on people's resources. So yeah, maybe that's something that gets evaluated eventually down the line, but it is already an improvement. 1,000 tokens was already an improvement, which is very notable. Cozy, that brings us to the end of this week's edition of the Snapchat. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, for joining us, for watching, for smashing that like button, for leaving a review. This is something we never talk about. It actually makes a huge difference. If you'd like to support our podcast and our work, leave a positive review on your podcast platform of choice. It means a lot to both Cozy and I. And we'll see you on that next Snapchat episode.